The unseen audience. There are places you see that are not merely empty. They are vessels. They are silent archives of every whispered line, every thundering applause, every bitter, silent tear shed in the grease paint and the gloom. We build them to hold our stories, and when we leave, we forget that sometimes the stories remain. They soak into the velvet and the plaster, into the dust and the decay, waiting for a new audience. But what happens when the last ticket has been sold, and the only audience left is you? And the stage, the great, dark, hungry stage, decides it's your turn to watch. The silence inside the Orpheum Grand was not empty. It was thick, heavy, and tasted of dust and forgotten perfume. Clara breathed it in, the fine particles tickling her nose as she set up her tripod on the warped floorboards of the main backstage dressing room. The legs of the tripod, sleek carbon fiber, clicked into place with a sound that seemed profane in the century-old quiet, a sharp modern intrusion. Around her, the room was a mausoleum of forgotten glamour. A long vanity stretched against one wall, its mirror a fractured, silverless map of decay. Bulbless sockets ringed its frame like vacant eyes. Scraps of faded velvet and sequin-shedding fabric lay in a corner, their colors muted to shades of gray in the dim light filtering through a single grimy window. Clara was an architectural photographer, a digital surgeon who carved out the souls of decaying buildings with light and pixels. She loved the contrast. Her sterile, high-resolution equipment against the beautiful, chaotic rot of time. Her camera, a gleaming black miracle of technology, was mounted and ready. She attached a battery pack, and its quiet internal hum was a comforting presence, a whisper of order in this chapel of entropy. She put on her noise-canceling headphones, not to block out sound, but to better monitor the audio she was recording alongside the images. The subtle groans of the building, the sigh of the wind through broken eaves. It added texture, she told her clients. She powered on the camera, its small, vibrant screen glowing to life, a stark rectangle of perfect color in the gloom. The live view showed the vanity, the peeling floral wallpaper, the ghostly absence of the faces that had once stared into the mirror. She adjusted her settings, the quiet clicks of the dial echoing faintly in her ears. Everything was perfect. The light was somber, the decay was poetic. She pressed the shutter. The resulting click, a soft, precise snick, was satisfying. The image appeared on her screen, and that's when she saw the first impossibility. In the corner of the frame, near the pile of faded fabric, there was a smear of light, a soft, nebulous glow that hadn't been there a moment ago. A lens flare. Impossible. Not with this lens, not with this light. She zoomed in. The smear wasn't just light. It had a shape, a strange ephemeral quality that almost suggested a face. Not a clear face, but the impression of one. Like a thumbprint on reality. Annoyed, she deleted the photo. Dust on the sensor, perhaps. She took another shot. The image was clean. Good. She moved her setup, aiming towards the rows of silent hanging ropes that controlled the heavy stage curtains. As she focused, her camera's manual focus assist feature, which highlights the sharpest parts of an image in a bright red outline, began to flicker. It wasn't highlighting the ropes or the wall behind them. It was highlighting a space in between, an empty patch of air, outlining a tall, vaguely human shape. Clara frowned, tapping the side of her camera. A glitch. She'd have to run diagnostics later. She switched to autofocus, and the strange red outline vanished. She took the shot. A faint sound pricked at her ears, something just on the edge of the silence her microphone was recording. It was a soft, rustling sigh, like 1,000 people shifting in their seats at once. She pulled her headphones off. The dressing room was utterly, profoundly still. The only sound was the gentle creak of a floorboard somewhere deep in the theater. She put the headphones back on. Silence. She must have imagined it. The old wood of the building playing tricks. She turned her attention to a row of tall, narrow lockers where performers once kept their belongings. As she framed the shot, her camera screen flickered again, a split-second flash of static, like an old television losing its signal. It was just for an instant, but it was enough to make her heart skip. She checked the battery. It had been at 94%. It was now at 62. A cold knot tightened in her stomach. That wasn't a glitch. That was impossible. Deciding to document the issue, she pulled out her phone to take a quick video of her camera's malfunctioning battery indicator. She pointed her phone at the camera, but her attention was caught by the reflection on her phone's dark screen. It showed the wall behind her, where a tattered poster for a 1920s film starlet, Viola Vance in the Velvet Cage, was peeling away from the plaster. But for a horrifying, heart-stopping second, the face on the poster was not Viola Vance's. It was her own, rendered in the dramatic painted style of the era, her eyes dark and sorrowful. She gasped, dropping her phone. It clattered to the floor. She snatched it up, her hands trembling. The screen was cracked, but the image was normal now. Just a peeling poster of a long-forgotten actress. Her mind was playing tricks on her. The dust, the silence, the isolation. It was getting to her. She tried to rationalize it. She was tired. She'd skipped lunch, but the feeling of profound wrongness was a physical presence now, a cold weight in the air. She decided to get one last shot, the vanity and its broken mirror, and then she would leave. She aimed her camera, her hands feeling clumsy and strange. She focused on the mirror. The image on her camera's screen was not the room she was in. It showed the same vanity, the same peeling wallpaper. But in the mirror's reflection, where she should have seen the empty doorway behind her leading out to the stage, she saw something else. She saw rows upon rows of velvet seats, and in those seats there were people. Hundreds of them. Their forms were indistinct, like figures made of smoke and shadow, but they were unmistakably an audience. All of them, every single one, were turned away from the stage. They were staring out of the reflection, directly at her. Clara screamed, a thin, sharp sound that the thick silence of the room swallowed whole. She spun around, her heart hammering against her ribs. The doorway behind her was empty. It led to the dark, cavernous space of the main theater, silent and vacant. There was no one there. There was nothing. Then she heard it, a sound that was not in her headphones, a sound that was undeniably real. From the distant, unseen stage, a single person began to clap, a slow, deliberate, mocking sound. Clap. Pause, clap, pause, clap. That was it. She was done. The photos didn't matter. The job didn't matter. Panic, pure and cold, washed over her. She fumbled with the latches on her tripod, her fingers refusing to obey. "Just leave it!" a voice in her head screamed. She grabbed her backpack, ready to run. But then, a soft hum from behind her. Her camera, which she had switched off, had powered back on by itself. The articulated screen flipped out to face her, and the lens, with a soft whirring of motors, swiveled and focused on her face. She froze, mesmerized by a new, more profound horror. The screen was not reflecting her panicked, tear-streaked face. It showed her sitting. Not standing in terror, but sitting calmly, peacefully, in one of the dusty, moth-eaten chairs in the corner of the dressing room. Her expression in the tiny, glowing image was one of rapt attention, her eyes wide, a faint, placid smile on her lips. She was looking at something out of frame, something she, the real, terrified Clara could not see. A sound, a dry, whispering hiss of static, began to emanate from the camera's tiny speaker. It grew, resolving itself into a chorus of faint, layered whispers, the sound of an expectant crowd waiting for the curtain to rise. She stared transfixed at the impossible image of herself. She raised a trembling hand and watched as the serene figure on the screen remained perfectly still. A captive audience. She stumbled back away from the camera, her breath catching in her throat. She fumbled for her phone again. The screen, though cracked, flickered to life. It also showed her, sitting, watching. She looked at her digital watch, its small face no longer showing the time, but a tiny, pixelated image of her, seated, attentive, forever attentive. She was trapped not by locked doors but by lenses. She risked a glance at the great broken mirror on the vanity. For a single, soul-shattering moment, the reflection was not her own terrified face. It was the face of the woman on the screen, her own eyes staring back with a placid, horrifying stillness. The palace didn't want to be photographed. It didn't want to be documented. It simply wanted an audience. And it had found one. Be careful when you wander into the quiet, forgotten places. Be careful what modern eyes you bring with you. You may think you are there to capture a memory, to steal a piece of the past for yourself, but sometimes the past is not a memory, it is a presence, and it has been waiting in the dark for a very, very long time for someone to finally sit down and watch the show.